We are gathered here to fill you with fear and give you a treat for your ears as we invade your mind with our scary rhymes and some tales that can be gory. As you bear witness and sit here and listen to our poetic horror stories.
Hello, my name is Mango, and I'm a dog, and my human's name is John. John always calls me a good boy. I consider John my best friend. I love John, my human. How did John and I meet? And how did I become his pet? John found me hiding under his car in the rain when I was a pup. He wrapped me up in his coat to keep me warm. He drove me to his home, and he fed me, and he cleaned me up. We have been together ever since. It's now been over 3 years. John is the best. Without him saving my life that day, I may not have survived and be here. I love when John pets me on my head, and when he takes me out to the backyard to play fetch. The red ball is my favorite toy. It's soft and squishy. I like chewing on it. It's better than a bone. It's the first toy John bought me when I was a puppy. Playing with the red ball always brings back happy memories with John. I also love when John takes me on long walks. He likes to take me to the neighborhood park. This is where I get to play with the other dogs. When he grabs my leash, I run around in a circle. I become so excited. John will say, "Mango, let's go." Then I would run up to the door, waiting on John to open it. Those were happy days. But, unfortunately, all good things come to an end. Because John is dead. Someone killed my best friend, my human. But worst of all, I know who killed him, because I saw the human. I'm the only witness.
This is just a friendly reminder to please like and comment to let us know how we are doing so far. We would love to hear from you all. And if you're new, please subscribe and become a part of the PHS crew. And we thank you.
John, as a human, wasn't a bad person. Yes, he made bad choices, and at times he had poor judgment. But he shouldn't have died for them. I will never forgive the human who killed John. The human that took John away from me. But since I can't talk to his family and the police, John's death is a mystery. John had been dead for a few days before he was found. I tried to do everything in my power to try and alert any human that walked by the house. I barked all day and night every time I would hear a sound. Finally, his neighbor came over to investigate. He peeked through the window, and he saw John in a pool of blood on the floor. John was hit on his head with a hard and heavy object. I overheard the human police say John died from blunt force trauma. He was hit over his head with a hammer. The hammer was left behind laying next to John on the floor. The police humans were very nice to me. They placed me on my leash. They comforted me while I was whimpering, as the detective human searches the house for evidence. The detective human were able to conclude that the suspect didn't force their way in, and they were right. John opened up the door and let the human killer in. So, they knew John felt comfortable with the human suspect. It had to be someone that John was familiar with. The human detective also concluded that nothing was stolen, nor missing from the home. Again, The human detective was right. The human killer didn't take anything. The human killer only came to harm John. John and the killer human had an argument that led to a fight. The human detective was very perceptive, and he picked up on the clues that John and the suspect got into a struggle, and the human killer ended John's life. I was quite impressed. I thought, good human. The human detective also found fingerprints on the hammer, a piece of torn clothing, and hair. The human detective examined and placed the content into the evidence bag. The human detective was on the right track. Suddenly, the human detective looked over at me, and he said,
Mango, you were here and witnessed John's death. You know who killed John. You know who his killer is, don't you, boy?
I could see the wheels turning in the human detective's head. The human detective was ready to set up a trap for the human suspect.
She just stared at me, like she didn't know who I was. At the time, I didn't care. I was so excited to see her again. I ran up and gave her a big hug. That's when I noticed how standoffish she was towards me. Something about her demeanor didn't feel quite right. In the back of my mind, I knew she was no longer my sissy.
After the investigation, they called in John's family, friends, and acquaintances to the police station. One by one, they funneled in. John's father, mother, sisters, cousins, his next-door neighbor, and John's boss and best friends from college. The human detective started interrogating all of them. The human detective was determined to get down to the bottom and to find my human John suspect. He spent all day interviewing, and the human detective found out some interesting information about John. John was having an affair. John was dating a married woman. This information came from John's neighbor, the neighbor who found him. I overheard the police joking that the neighbor was a nosy busybody. He keeps tabs on everyone in the neighborhood. I, of course, didn't know what that meant, but I think it was good. Because the human detective was happy with the old man's information he gave to him. For the last human suspect on the human detective list, the human detective brought me in. The human detective latched my leash at the end of the table to a metal chair. Then the human detective let in the last human suspect. I started to growl when the human suspect walked in with the human detective. The human suspect looked surprised, like he could run and hide. But the human detective ushered him in, handcuffed him to the table, and sat him close to my chair. I was mad. All I could see was red. I tried my best to get loose so I could attack him. Then the human detective said,
It seems like John's dog Mango doesn't very much care for you, Bruce. I believe he would attack and kill you if I set him loose. Now tell me, why would Mango want to harm you? I thought you and John were close friends.
Yeah, why did you kill my human? I wanted answers. I started to snarl and foam at the mouth, barking like crazy. I know I look like a diseased dog with rabies, but I didn't care. All I knew was that I wanted to tear him limb from limb. I wanted revenge for John, my human. I started to drag the chair as I started to approach him. I used all my strength, and I was determined to bite down on his leg, and that was only the beginning. The human detective said,
Seems like Mango is pissed with you. I wonder why. What did you do? Did you kill John? Bruce?
Bruce started to scream and yell out,
Get this crazy dog away from me! Help! This damn dog looks bloodthirsty! Well, Bruce, this is what happens when you kill a dog's owner in front of him. Now, You have a choice. Confess, or I let Mango go to take his revenge. You only have 10 seconds.
And just like that, Bruce confessed. He confessed he killed John. My human. My best friend. John started working for Bruce in his company right after college. John was having a hard time finding a job in this economy. John was a very good computer programmer, but he just didn't have enough experience. But Bruce had money and connections through his father, and Bruce was happy to give John a chance. John worked for Bruce for a year, and John was happy working there. All because of her, Bruce's wife, Natasha. Bruce and Natasha dated the whole 4 years they were in college, and they married a few months after they graduated, to the disapproval of Bruce's father. But John always had a crush on Natasha. Natasha and John became close, and they fell in love. Natasha told John that she wished she never married Bruce, and she always wanted to be with him. Natasha used to come by John's home twice a week, and they kept up their affair for a year. But Bruce found out because he saw a text Natasha sent to John, telling him she was going to leave Bruce for John. Bruce came over that day to confront John about the affair, and Bruce's temper took over and got away with him. I was there when it began. John put me away in my kennel. When the argument and the fight started, I tried my best to break free. But unfortunately, I couldn't get the door open. That's when I saw Bruce grab the hammer that John left on the counter. Bruce hit John once on his head, and John took a step back. He touched the top of his head. Then he yelled. I went crazy once I saw John lying there bleeding. I knew John needed me. I finally got the kennel door open, and I ran over to Bruce and I tore a piece of his shirt as he ran out the front door, closing it behind him. I immediately went back to John, but he had no movement. I sat there next to him, hoping he would get up and say, Mango, let's go for a walk. Now I stay with John's mother and father. I'm happy here. They are nice humans. But no one can ever take the place of John, my best friend, my human.